Thank you for joining me today. We are going to do some clearing around old blocks and trauma. And we're going to do that by accessing the ancient wisdom of the Akashic Records. If you're ready to go directly to where you can find answers for your life and your questions, then the Akasha and the Lords of the Akashic Records is a fabulous place to go. I'm Lisa Barnett, and as an internationally respected teacher with over 25 years working with clients in this field and in the transformational healing field, I would love to share some of that energy and gifts with you. The Akashic Records holds the energy and the information about your soul's journey throughout time. There is information about your soul's plan, karma we've come to complete, as well as soul contracts you've written with family members and many other friends and people in your life. So let's jump in so we can talk more about our soul plan. And then I want to help you if you're feeling blocked and stuck in old patterns. Maybe you're wondering, what am I here for? I feel the energy moving and shifting. And here we've got 2021 right around the corner. What did I come to do? So I want to help clear some of those blocks, help us to bring in energetically some more information and wisdom for everybody, as well as clear money blocks, clear old vows of poverty. Many of us, after this last year, have found that we're struggling. We maybe lost our jobs or we're working part time. Nothing is the same. And we're wondering, now what? And so that's what I would like to help you with today. I would like to help you to start on the path of creating the new earth for you, where you can connect to and create the life that your heart and soul desires. So let's jump in. I love to bring everybody into the Akashic field with me so that we can have the Akashic record keepers and lords and masters of the records do some energetic healing as we talk. And so let's do that right now. And then I'll talk a little bit more about what your soul plan is. What the heck were you thinking when you embodied this lifetime, and so much more. I know that many of you have seen me speak before and may know quite a bit about the Akashic Records. And I also know that many of you are newer to this information and work. So I will try and blend all of that together as we do this um, conversation and healing today with the Akashic Records. So let's just start by taking a nice deep breath and just dropping out of our head and down into our heart. And we invite our soul to come more present down into the physical body, all the way down, filling our torso, dropping all the way down into our hips, getting nice and grounded as we connect down through our legs and feet, connecting to our beautiful Gaia, our Mother Earth, who is also waking up and changing energy, and you may be feeling that too. And as we breathe into our heart, we let it open and expand a little further as we ask the divine lords of unconditional love to help us center fully in this moment as we create this sacred space. Please wrap us in your love and protection and allow us to travel to the highest realms of the Akasha available to us today. Please help as we lay our multidimensional heart open to divine love and release all resistance. Lords of the Akashic Record, please guide us to the deepest information and wisdom that we can hold and receive now. And we thank you for the support and the healing as we're doing this work today. And so it is. Beautiful. So let's jump in and start talking a little bit about our soul plan. Because as we talk about our soul plan, what I find is there are many aspects that will show up to be worked with and healed. So we'll just go through as we talk, we'll talk and heal, right? As things come up, the record keepers will say, let's do some work around that. Okay. So that's the plan for this discussion today. And I'm so glad to have you here with me. So, did you know that before you came to Earth this time, you wrote a whole plan? It's just like having your very own manual. I know that when my children were newborns, little babies, I remember mothers saying, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if these babies came with a manual? If we knew what to do with them or why they're here and how to help and support them. And the truth is that they did come with a manual. And it is this whole plan that you wrote. And part of that plan has to do with the people that you contracted with to be here. So before you were born, and just remember, each and every one of you is an ancient and wise soul, even if you don't remember that at all. I know that so many people are having those memories and having the inkling and really feeling and knowing that you came to help to transform the world now. And I know that for many people, that feels like something we have to do, yesterday or last year or whatever, 10 years ago. But it's a beautiful, beautiful time to start right now because as old paradigms are starting to shift and fall apart, possibly, what we're doing is we're building as fast as we can. So instead of a big crash and a trauma for humanity, we are, as we're dismantling, we're building. So this is what the record keeper said to me many, many years ago, probably almost 10 years ago. They said, that high rise, we're taking blocks off of that 100th story and we're putting it and building the foundation for the new earth. And so literally for the last, 10 years plus, probably longer than that, we've been doing some of this slow dismantling the old and starting to build the new. And so the way it looks is that we're getting about even energetically with dismantling the old paradigms and building the new. And so hopefully we'll have an easy transition now because we've been at this not only for many years, but most of us have been at it for many, many lifetimes. So you definitely have a reason that you came. And often we think about that as our sole purpose, but it's actually bigger than that. And we'll also talk about that too. So we have hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes here on Earth. The record keepers say that most of us live 400 to 800 or so lives. They actually told me something very shocking the other day. They said, oh yeah, you've been coming for about 1,000 different lifetimes. And I thought, oh, really? No wonder I was born awake. So my memory, and I know that some of you have had this kind of experience also, is that when I was about 3 years old, I realized I was trapped in a body. I thought, oh my gosh, because I can't talk, I can't say what I, want to say. I feel like I'm stuck here. I'm this ancient soul in a baby body. And so I used to tell my mother that I wanted to go home. And some of you may remember having an experience like that, and some of you may have children or even grandchildren who will show up, and you'll be like, oh, they're having that kind of experience. Maybe they even say, I want to go back or I want to go home, like I used to tell my mother. So we've had so many lifetimes. The more we have, really often the more conscious we are when we come in. And of course, so many of us have come in as light workers to help humanity at this time. We're so excited to be here, even though for many of us it's been challenging because of some of what we write in our soul plan. And so many of us are really here and we've been waiting for many years. Some of us I know are just waking up. Maybe it's only been a couple of years. And then, you know, some like me have been waiting for 40 or 50 years for this time to arrive. So I'm so excited to be here with you and to see this beautiful golden light on the horizon right now. So because you have 400, 600, 800 lifetimes under your belt, and they are written in your Akashic records, you made a plan to bring some of those gifts and talents back to humanity now. So if you imagine that your soul's plan is something like a guideline, it would be like saying, I'm going to write 50 different soul contracts to have relationships with 50 different people. And some of those people will show up in your life, but not all of them. Most of us write maybe 6 to 12 different soul contracts to have significant partners. So if we just wrote one soul contract, most of us would be alone. But because we give ourselves a half a dozen or a dozen opportunities to meet that significant partner, we often do. And some of those soul contracts have what I say is karma attached, right? There may be some lessons to learn, some old patterns to work through, and some of us will, and many of us won't. Not every soul contract is meant to be for life. So let's talk a little bit more about these soul contracts. As I said, 25 different soul contracts or more, maybe 50. A dozen of those might be for significant partners, whether you get married or you just live with somebody, for most of your life. It doesn't matter, of course, to them. There is never any judgment or anything around that. But what happens is that some of these contracts are short. So there are some people who maybe had a contract to have a child, and the contract with the partner was not to be a life partner, but to just be a sperm donor, right? So many of you may have experienced something like that. Maybe you had a child from a one night stand, or other people I know sometimes come to me after they've been married for 30 years and they have 2 or 3 kids who are all grown up and in their 20s, and they say, is my soul contract done yet? I feel like we're totally going in different directions. And I don't know if it's okay for me to leave my partner because it feels like I want to go on this real spiritual path and he or she doesn't. And so we literally can go into our Akashic records and ask the record keepers, what kind of soul contract did this person write? Was it just about having the children and being there with them until they're grown and kind of, fly the coop, right? Leave your nest. And so there you are as an empty nester with that person that you don't even remember why you married them 20 or 30 years ago. And so often the record keepers will say, there had been a soul contract to have the family and to continue on. But then one person chooses not to continue on. There may have been a contract to balance male and female energy in the relationship, and maybe it didn't work out that way. Maybe the man was kind of stuck in the old masculine patriarchal paradigm, and they're not going to give that up. So now they worked and they made lots of money and they created maybe a good life for you and your children, your family. But now it's almost like, now I'm done and I'm just going to hang around and I'm going to play golf. I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to have some beers. I'm going to hang out with my buddies. And they have no interest in going forward, creating their next step in life. And I say this sometimes with, kind of the example of a man, but I certainly see plenty of men who come to me whose wives are not very spiritual. And they're like, wow, I'm really on a spiritual path. I started with this awakening journey 5 years ago, and and my wife has no interest. She doesn't want to meditate with me. She doesn't want to go to any of these amazing events that I've been going to. Do we still have a soul contract when it works out that way? And often what the record keepers say is that the soul contract becomes null and void because one person can only do what one person can do, right? You both have to come together and work on that path. And when you don't, the contract literally becomes null and void. And so that person who maybe is not living up to their side of the contract that they had planned on doing, maybe having a more spiritual life, waking up, creating part of the new earth, they may come back and do that with either in another lifetime, or maybe they go on and they meet someone else that triggers that awakening with them. And so soul contracts are not always for life. Some are, but I'm going to say a lot of them are not. We often have soul contracts with our mother and our father, and sometimes with one or the other or neither. We sometimes have a soul contract with a grandmother or an aunt or an uncle or a brother or a sister. So we pick our family of origin for different reasons. And for those of you who were possibly put up for adoption, the family of origin may not have been the important piece. It may have been about learning to work through some old abandonment patterns that came up because you were put up for adoption. And you may have a stronger, clearer soul contract with the people who adopt you or someone in that family. And so we're very complicated in that sort of way. And I think it's really important that we understand that it's not just one way or another, and that it's very multi-layered, the record keepers are saying, right? So when I go in and I do Akashic record readings and healing for clients, they'll say, well, there's this and this and this and this. And sometimes they'll give me 3, 4, 5, 6 answers to one question, because it's not just simple. We are not simple. We are ancient, complicated, and unique souls. So if you haven't figured out all the answers to your questions, that would be one of the reasons. And again, one of the reasons I find learning to access your Akashic records is so helpful and powerful. So let's do a little healing around challenging family relationships. Okay. So like I said, I find it really useful to kind of go through and then talk about these things, and then we can do a little bit of work around that. And so doing some work around abandonment feels like a great place to start. The record keepers have been talking about healing some of these old patterns of abandonment. And not only do we have them with our family sometimes, we have them in so many different ways. So you might have it with source, right? We feel lost and alone. Like, here I am, I'm this little small person and you left me here. Or we might feel that more about our galactic family. Many of us are from other planets, realms, and dimensions. And we may feel like, I'm an alien here. When are you coming to pick me up? Right? I know when oh my gosh. Well, I just want to say ET phone home, right? If you are old enough to remember, I can't remember the exact name of the movie, but about ET, the little boy who finds this little ET, and he takes him home with him and he helps him get in touch with his star family who had flown away because they couldn't find him. I know that so many of us feel that that's true for us too. I also agree, very galactic. One of the reasons the record keepers asked me to start this school was they said, you are very galactic, meaning you have been a galactic traveler. You've lived so many different places and dimensions. not only in the Pleiades, but in Sirius, Arcturus, um, Orion, Andromeda, Lyra, right? So all these different places. And so they said, we would like to give you Akashic access prayers that are connected to these soul lineage, these starseed lineages, to make it easier for people to access their own Akashic records. So that was their request when they asked me to start an Akashic record school and teach people to do this work for themselves. And so I have brought through 6 Akashic access lineage prayers, and there's 2 more that I feel are just going to drop in really soon. So probably as I start to teach next year online, that there might be 8 access prayers instead of 6. Not that you need really more than one, honestly, but they make us feel comfortable. And when we're really comfortable in our soul and our soul feels connected, it's so much easier to access our own Akashic records. So I digress. They always have so many things. Yes, they're talking to me and telling me so much different information. Let's do some clearing on abandonment. And so just the way I'll do this is, if you're interested in having the record keepers do some healing for you. Remember, we opened our records as a group in the beginning. And if you're tuning in a little bit later, we'll just ask all of the record keepers to bring all of us as a group into this Akashic field so that we can receive clearing and healing. And all you need to do is just say, yes, thank you, please do, right? So the record keepers, and I find very often the healing comes through my hands, kind of as a weaving or a clearing or a rewriting of the Akashic records, and releasing, untangling. They just all kind of, my little fingers just go on their own. So that's what I'll be doing with my hands. But the record keepers are talking about healing abandonment. And so they actually want to start on our heart chakra. And so we're going to do some work right now on our heart chakra to kind of clear some of that pain. It's a level of emotional pain of being left or feeling lost, being abandoned. And then we'll definitely want to do some abandonment around source. Okay, so let me just start, and I'll do some work on everybody's heart chakra. So just, if you want to close your eyes and drop down into your heart, focus on your heart space, your 4th chakra. You can do that. And just inviting the Akashic record keepers to come through and clear whatever it is that no longer serves you, that's been in your heart, keeping it closed down. Sometimes it feels like our heart is kind of locked down. We want to clear, open, and release that emotional pain, that energy of abandonment, anytime in this lifetime that we may have been abandoned. It doesn't have to be by, certainly by a parent. I had my best friend die when I was about 19, and I felt that she abandoned me. It really broke my heart and made me feel unworthy to go on. So abandonment can be from a friend. It could be from a relationship. Often we have those first relationships when we're teenagers and we break up. Sometimes the person goes and runs off with someone else, and we're feeling totally abandoned. So any of that part of your story, we just invite the record keepers to clear, release, and uplift it, and bring that old energy to completion. And they often highly recommend doing some form of forgiveness, to forgive ourselves for hanging on to it, and forgive the other person for the hurt that they may have caused you. And so, of course, the Akashic record keepers have given us a forgiveness prayer. which is in both of my books. And so the the Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records is the how-to book that that they've given me, and this will actually teach you how to read your own Akashic Records, the Infinite Wisdom. And there's a forgiveness prayer in here also. And my other book, From Questioning to Knowing, 73 Healing Prayers to Transform Your Life, also, of course, has the forgiveness prayer. So if you want to continue working after we do this healing today, you can find both of my books on Amazon. So the record keepers, I just feel that really deeply and starting to open and expand. So you might feel your heart expanding as we clear that emotional pain and trauma. And then we want to go back into other lifetimes, because often this is a repeating pattern. We come to clear abandonment now because we've had this experience through many different lifetimes. And so we just go back outside of time and space. The Akashic record keepers say that the Akash is stored in the quantum field of source. And so when I go into that Akashic record, I am going into the quantum field. I'm actually bringing you into the quantum field with me. And this is how we can heal things from past lives or our childhood, which might have been 30 or 40 years old or longer. And sometimes we go and heal energy that was projected into the future, which no longer serves us. So right now they're going back outside of time and space into the quantum field to pick out all these different lifetimes in which we were abandoned. I'm seeing some different lifetimes where we were kind of left on a doorstep as a baby. There's some different lifetimes that people had where they were abandoned by their partner. And there's even some very traumatic ones that I'm seeing out in nature, out in the forest. It looks like different times in history where we were maybe more nomadic, where we were traveling, maybe even in the United States, people went on wagon trains, right? Across the country, very far to the west. And things happened. People died, got lost, right? So there's some of that abandonment energy in there we're clearing and releasing for everybody right now, because abandonment, the record keepers are saying, is one of the things that keeps us from waking up, from actually becoming enlightened. Because if we believe that we can be abandoned, we're believing in separation. And when we take that into separation from source, then we're creating this very finite field where we believe that we're just this little body, and that our skin is the end of us, right? And so it's so important that we create this unified field, knowing that we are always, always one with the all. And that you can never be abandoned because you are always one with source, and you are always literally one with everything else, everyone else. And so abandonment is actually impossible when you look at it in that much bigger kind of quantum field, entanglement sort of way. So they're clearing all of those old beliefs, emotional pain, physical pain also, because in many of those lifetimes, they were physically traumatic, right? If you got left behind and lost, maybe you fell down a ravine or something happened to you and the wagon train went on, that would be physically traumatic, right? So we want to clear that physical pain, because the emotional pain and the physical pain and the spiritual pain, which often I say is that feeling like, why have you forsaken me, right? How could you leave me here alone? Whether it's our spaceship that flew off without us, or often in many religious lifetimes, we've said, God, how come how could you have forsaken me? How could you leave me here to die alone? And so this is what I call spiritual pain, because it's very, very traumatic for us, of course. And so we want to do some clearing on that. clearing and releasing that sort of trauma and emotional pain, physical pain, spiritual pain. All about abandonment. Okay. I like to just fill everybody up after we clear all those abandonment issues out. I want to fill you up with your highest Akashic information, light of wisdom you can now hold. And we bring all of that energy into present time, down into your body right here and now. Good. And then I want to do, so that was kind of a very big, which felt very useful to clear abandonment, especially in connection to awakening or enlightenment. And so let's do some work and some clearing around more personal soul contracts. So what they're saying is we want to clear some old soul contracts that are complete, but they're just kind of stuck and energetically hanging out there. So the example that they're giving me is in this lifetime, and then we'll go into other lifetimes, a relationship that didn't work out and you broke up. But it's when someone left you, so there's a little bit of that abandonment in there, but you were really hurt and traumatized. And for whatever reasons, energetically, mentally, emotionally, you were never able to quite let them go. So there's old soul contracts that are hanging out there. I see this sometimes when people are ready, they say, I got divorced 5 years ago and I would like to find a new life partner. I would like to find a great love in my life, have that beautiful spiritual connection and partnership. And so we go into their records and we're looking at, why is that not happening for you? And often it's because there is some old soul contracts, emotional pain and trauma. And sometimes it almost looks like there's scarring in their heart chakra. And this old story, sometimes we have conscious and unconscious beliefs often hang out in the back of our head, in the back of our sixth chakra. The back 4 layers of every one of your chakras is the unconscious levels and layers in each chakra. So we can go through and do some clearing around these unconscious beliefs or memories or stories that are still that you're hanging on to, that's holding you back. So let's do that, because really what the record keepers are saying is they want us all to go forward into creating a new earth as we go forward into 2021 and beyond. I know it's a process, right? And so next year and the year after and the next 5 years and the next 10 years, as we're raising our vibration, we're shifting from this old kind of carbon-based energy to a higher light energy in our bodies on the planet. I truly believe that we will see instant manifestation. I'm looking forward to seeing unicorns ride over the hills and show back up again some of the beautiful dragons. We have many dragons that have been here with us and supporting us in other lifetimes and from other dimensions that we've lost in being in this 3D. So as we move into the 5th dimension, not only will we see unicorns and dragons, I believe we'll see the elementals and the fairies, and life will look really different. So I am very excited personally. So I think it's important. The record keepers always like to remind us to stay in the present moment, where it's all, pretty good now, not always perfect, but to know that we're in a creative process, that we are creating the new earth. And as we keep being grateful for that gift and that ability, and we start to see our manifestation abilities step up, and we'll do some work around that too, because I love to do a little work around manifesting for all of us, of course, especially love. So let me do some clearing around these old soul contracts that are kind of gone, but they haven't been burnt. So we're going to go in and so any contract you have with, you don't have to know, but you can think of any kind of old, might be whatever ex, it might have been your ex-partner, it might be somebody that you were married to or not, it doesn't matter. We often have different kinds of soul contracts with these people. So we just invite the Akashic Record keepers to help us to clear, release, and I ask them to burn these old contracts that are out of date. There's nothing left or valuable about that contract anymore. But sometimes it has those old strings that just we feel in our heart. And so we ask the record keepers to uplift and bring to completion, to burn all of the soul contracts that no longer serve us from this life or any other lifetime. Because we often have soul contracts from different lifetimes that just got kind of stuck and are hanging out there. And so we ask the record keepers to help us to do some clearing and really some housekeeping. Let's go back and clear these, all these different soul contracts that have just been stuck. Obviously, we're not going back into that past life right now and rekindling that relationship. Let's burn that old soul contract and release it for the highest good of all concerned. So letting ourselves do that. You don't have to know where it is or when it is. You might get a flash, you might get a memory of another lifetime, or maybe you kind of pop back into that early relationship when you were 15 or 16 years old, or maybe you were 25 and you're still hanging on to that love because you maybe thought they were the perfect person for you and you couldn't believe it when they left you, and it's left this scar in your heart. So we ask the record keepers to burn all of those contracts that no longer serve us, whether you're aware of them or not, doesn't matter. And then we're going to do some work on the scarring in our heart chakra, so that we want to be able to make our heart chakra really flexible so it can open and expand. And so that you can call in the next beautiful soul partner that you have, right? Remember, most of us have a dozen or so soul contracts with a variety of people throughout our whole lives. So even if you're 70 years old, it doesn't mean that you don't still have a soul contract with a significant partner out there. So we're just doing some clearing of that scarring, clearing of all of that old energy that is ready to be released. And so coming back just down into our hearts, filling our heart with gold. We cleared those old contracts that may have kept us kind of feeling stuck. And we ask the record keepers to align us and reconnect us to the soul contracts that are still available for us now. So it could be a significant partner. It could be a business partner. It could be your new best friend. It could be someone that is going to help open a door for you. We don't have to know. We just want to be open and available to connect. And when that person shows up, to, of course, check in with our own intuition and see if it's a yes. But let that door be opened and walk through that doorway. Because often for us as humans, it takes some guts, right? It takes us to say, okay, so is this in my highest and best good? Let me take a step and see what I feel, and follow your gut, follow your heart, pay attention to what you're feeling, and let those doors open, because the record keepers want us to know so many new doors are going to open as we go out there into 2021 and 22 and 25 and on. New gifts and talents will show up, new jobs, new partners, new friends, new ways of being. And so it's helpful when we can live in our heart and be aligned to our soul plan, to understand a little bit more about our soul purpose, and to consciously say yes when those opportunities show up. Because when we say yes, right, more come. Very fun. I'm very excited about this time right now. So let's work on I'm doing a little bit of alignment with all of these soul contracts that you have. Could have been 25 or 50 for a variety of soul contracts, not all significant partners, but like I was saying, might be to work with somebody, it might be a business partner, it might be a best friend, it could be anyone, right? Someone who's going to help you open these doors. So I just see all of the energy of alignment, right? We want to be aligned into our Akashic Records, aligned with our soul and all of our chakras. And then what they're showing me is they look like a whole big uh, bouquet of balloons is what they're showing me. So we have wires with the balloon, and for many of us, there's 10 or 15 or 20 or even more. And so it's like this huge bouquet of balloons, right? That are all around you, all connected. And we invite the people who are part of those soul contracts to contact us, to bring that contract present now as we go forward into this new year or today. Who knows who you'll meet where and when, right? And so aligning these beautiful contracts, we're just adding this beautiful high golden energy, bringing them into present time, right? We wrote most of these soul contracts before we came into our body. And so again, if you're 20, that's over 20 years ago. If you're like me in your 60s, that's right, a long time ago. So we want to bring it all present so that it can align with you right now, upgrading, updating them to bring them into present time. So just take a breath as you feel all of these different contracts, or notice however that might be. Some of us feel, some of us see, some of us sense. Sometimes people will be like, I feel the swirling energy, but I don't see anything. That's just fine. So letting all of these contracts line up so that we can connect to them now as we go forward. So that feels very exciting and beautiful. And so let's feel like doing one more thing before we finish today. Kind of see what. Oh, I know. So the record keepers are saying, so a couple things I could just go on for hours. They wanted us to help align to our creative and manifesting gifts. So third chakra, connecting your third chakra and your fourth chakra. So third chakra has a lot to do with creating and manifesting on this earth plane. Many of us don't come that far down into our bodies usually. We come down to maybe our heart level, but it gets kind of mucky when we get into our third, second, and first chakras, right? There's a lot denser energy down in our lower chakra system. But it's so important that we get down here into our third, second, and first, because a lot of the power that helps us to manifest quickly comes from our heart's desire and our emotions, that beautiful energy of really excitement and enthusiasm. That is the fuel or the fire that sparks the creative energy in our third chakra. And when we connect our fourth, our heart's desire, our soul's energy and wisdom with our third chakra and our second chakra, the three of those chakras come together, creating this beautiful expansive energy, and we can expand it out and out and out to connect to all of those people that are here to support us in these endeavors, whether it's a soul family member that you have a contract with to be a significant partner, or to create a new business, or to write your book, or to get your healing off the ground, or maybe even to take some healing courses or to learn to access your own Akashic records. I teach online 3 times a year now. And so if you're called to learn to access your own Akashic records, please check it out on my website. I'll have a class starting in February, online, 3-week class. So very powerful, very intense, to learn to access your own Akashic records. And in that workshop, I will teach you so many different tools. First, of course, to open your Akashic records and start to have a beautiful conversation with your Akashic record keepers so that you can communicate with them, just as I've been doing as we're working here today. I hear them, they show me pictures, I feel things, and so I can keep downloading that information to share with you. And when we learn to do it for ourselves, we get this information. What's my next step to create, what I want to create in my life now? Is there a person? Is there a soul contract? What else can we clear and heal and do? And I teach you all of that in my Learn to Access Your Akashic Record courses. So I hope to see you there. Of course, if you want to check out my books, they are on Amazon, both of them, The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic Records by Lisa Barnett on Amazon, and The Infinite Wisdom of the Akashic, and From Questioning to Knowing, 73 Prayers to Transform Your Life. Both by me, Lisa Barnett, and on Amazon. You can see more about that on my website at akashicknowing.com. You can see how it's spelled there, akashickknowing.com. And also, please hop over there to my website and download one of my free meditations. Right there on the homepage, you'll see a little box to opt in and download a free journey into the Akashic Records, a beautiful guided meditation that the record keepers have given us so you can experience that beautiful divine energy again for yourself. And so now we thank the Akashic Masters and Lords who have given us this beautiful healing. We thank them. We fill each and every one of you up with your highest Akashic wisdom, energy, and light you can now hold. And we close and lock the records of the group for now. And so it is. Blessed be. Thank you for spending this time with me today. I hope to see you soon. Bye for now.